They told my son to choose the hospital of his dreams or the mother who raised him. I'm 63 years old, and I'm about to tell you about the night a wealthy family tried to erase me, and the two men who refused to let them. But to understand that night, I need to tell you about the first time I met Victoria Hale. Mom, I'm bringing someone to dinner this weekend. Someone special. Her name is Victoria. The nervousness in his voice made me smile. My son, brilliant surgeon, confident in the OR, reduced to nerves by a woman. I can't wait to meet her, sweetheart. But the first time I met Victoria Hale, I knew something was wrong. Saturday evening, I cooked all afternoon. Made all Daniel's favorites: pot roast, mashed potatoes, green beans, apple pie from my grandmother's recipe. I cleaned the house twice, changed clothes 3 times. I wanted to make a good impression. The doorbell rang at 6. Daniel stood there with a woman who looked like she'd stepped out of a magazine. Tall, polished, beautiful in that cultivated way that requires time and money. Designer dress, perfect hair, expensive jewelry. Mom, this is Victoria Hale. Victoria, my mom, Eleanor Brooks. I extended my hand. Victoria shook it. Her hand was soft, manicured. Mine was rough from years of work. She smiled, but something in her eyes was measuring me. It's so nice to finally meet you. Daniel has told me so much about you. We sat down to dinner. Victoria looked around the small dining room. I saw her eyes take in the modest furniture, the worn carpet, the small television visible through the doorway. Her smile never faltered, but something shifted in her expression. "This is lovely," she said, gesturing to the pot roast. "So, homey." The way she said homey made it sound like a consolation prize. Daniel didn't notice. He was happy, animated, telling Victoria stories about growing up in this house. She smiled at him, touched his arm, said all the right things. But when she looked at me, that measuring assessment returned, like she was doing math, adding up what I represented, subtracting it from what Daniel could be. "Daniel tells me you worked in the hospital cafeteria," Victoria said, cutting her pot roast into tiny pieces. She'd taken small portions, barely touching her plate. "That must have been honest work." "It was," I said. "Good people, good benefits, allowed me to put Daniel through college." "How fortunate," she smiled. "Daniel is lucky to have had such a dedicated stepmother." The way she said stepmother landed differently, not warm, like a technicality, like I was a placeholder. "I was lucky to have him," I said. Victoria's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Of course." After dinner, Victoria excused herself to make a phone call. "Work emergency. I'll just step outside." Through the window, I watched her walk into my front yard, phone to her ear. And then I saw it. The moment she thought no one was watching, her face changed. The polite smile dropped. She looked back at the house, my house, and her expression was disdain, dismissal. She spoke into the phone, gestured at the house, laughed at something. Her whole body language was different, relaxed, real. This was who she actually was. When she came back inside, the mask was firmly in place. Perfect smile, perfect manners. They left an hour later. Daniel hugged me. "What do you think, Mom?" I wanted to say, "Something's wrong. She's not what she seems." But instead I said, "She's lovely, sweetheart. I'm happy for you." He drove away. I stood in my small house and felt a familiar dread. I'd seen that look before, that measuring, dismissive look. I tried to tell myself I was being paranoid, but I couldn't shake the feeling. The way she'd said homey, the way she'd looked at my house when she thought I couldn't see, the way stepmother had sounded, like it meant not real. 2 weeks later, Daniel called. "Mom, Victoria's parents want to meet you. They're having dinner at their house this Friday. Can you come?" My stomach dropped, but I said, "Of course, sweetheart." I bought a new dress, navy blue, simple but elegant, did my hair, wore the pearl earrings Jack had given me 25 years ago. I looked in the mirror and saw a 63-year-old woman trying very hard to look like she belonged somewhere she suspected she didn't. Friday evening, Daniel picked me up. We drove into the hills, to an address in one of those old money neighborhoods. The Hale estate appeared through the dusk. Spanish Revival architecture, gardens lit with small lights, the kind of tasteful wealth that whispers rather than shouts. The moment I saw it, I knew. I'd been right all along. Mrs. Margaret Hale answered the door. Early 60s, elegant in the way women with money and time can be. "Eleanor, how wonderful to finally meet you. Please come in." The house was beautiful. Hardwood floors, expensive art, French doors opening to a garden. Everything perfect, carefully curated. Dr. Richard Hale rose from a leather chair, tall, silver-haired, distinguished. "Mrs. Brooks, pleasure." Victoria emerged from the kitchen. "Eleanor, I'm so glad you could come." We sat down to dinner. The table was set with china that probably cost more per plate than my monthly grocery bill. 3 forks. I knew which one to use. I'd worked at a country club 35 years ago and learned these things. The conversation was pleasant. They asked about my work. I explained I'd worked hospital cafeteria for years, recently retired. They nodded politely. Asked how Daniel and I met. I explained his mother had left when he was young. I'd married his father, raised Daniel after his father died. They listened with practiced interest. "How remarkable," Mrs. Hale said. "You must be very proud of Daniel." "I am, every single day." Dessert came, some complicated French pastry. Wine was poured. I started to relax. Maybe I'd been wrong. Maybe this was just a nice dinner. Then Dr. Hale set down his wine glass. "Daniel, Victoria's mother and I would like to discuss something with you. An opportunity." I gripped my napkin under the table. "We'd like to offer you the position of Chief of Cardiology at Hale Medical Group. It's a role that typically takes 15 years to achieve. We're offering it to you in 3. Daniel's eyes widened. "Chief of Cardiology? That's incredible." "It is," Mrs. Hale said smoothly, "and it comes with incredible responsibility." Her eyes slid to me, "Which is why we need to discuss something important. Daniel, if you marry our daughter, you'll be joining the Hale legacy. But that requires certain adjustments." Daniel frowned. "Adjustments?" Dr. Hale leaned forward. "Let's be direct. Your mother is a single mother, a stepmother who raised her late husband's child. She worked in a hospital cafeteria. Honest work. We respect it." He paused. "But our institution is built on legacy. Our donors expect lineage, stability, not underdog stories." Mrs. Hale's voice softened. "These narratives are popular. The single mom who worked 3 jobs, the stepmother who sacrificed everything. Very Hallmark movie, very inspiring. But our world doesn't run on inspiration. It runs on confidence. And confidence comes from knowing the people at the top come from the right places." My face burned. "Your background creates optics problems," Dr. Hale continued. "A chief of cardiology whose mother was a cafeteria worker, whose family structure is complicated, it raises questions, makes donors uncomfortable, suggests we're lowering our standards." Victoria spoke quietly. "Daniel, my parents are offering you everything. They just need you ready to move forward, not anchored to a past that doesn't reflect where you're going." Mrs. Hale touched his hand. "We're not asking you to abandon your mother, just the appropriate distance, an occasional phone call, but not visible involvement, not at galas or donor dinners, a quiet separation." Daniel's knuckles went white. "You want me ashamed of where I came from." "We want you strategic about where you're going," Dr. Hale said. "Your mother has lived her life. Now it's your turn. That requires leaving certain associations behind." I stood. My chair scraped against hardwood. "Excuse me, I need air." I walked through French doors into their garden, out into cool night air, away from their perfect house, their perfect world I'd never belonged to. I stood there trying to breathe, trying not to collapse under the weight of being told, again, that I wasn't good enough. Because I had been here before, 35 years ago. I heard footsteps behind me. Expected Daniel, but the voice was older, male, achingly familiar. "Eleanor?" I froze. That voice. I knew that voice, but it couldn't be. I turned slowly. A man stood in the doorway, backlit by house lights. Silver hair where dark used to be, lines around eyes that used to be smooth. But the shape of his face, the way he stood, the look in his eyes. William? He stepped into the light, stared at me like he'd seen a ghost. My God, Eleanor Brooks, after all these years. My legs went weak. William Ashford. Here, in this garden, after 35 years of silence, of wondering, of believing I'd never see him again. What are you... I couldn't finish the sentence, couldn't breathe. I live next door, he said, voice shaking. Margaret Hale is my half-sister. She invited me tonight, said she wanted me to meet Daniel's mother. His eyes were wide, disbelieving. I had no idea it was you. Margaret Hale, his sister, which meant Catherine Ashford was her mother, which meant this family... The realization hit me like cold water. Your sister, I heard myself say. Your sister just told my son to erase me from his life if he wants their approval. William's face went pale. What are you talking about? I couldn't answer him. Not yet. Because standing in this garden, looking at his face, all I could see was 35 years ago. I was 28, leaving my shift at the country club, and I saw her, waiting by the service entrance. Catherine Ashford, elegant, pearl earrings, Chanel suit, standing by a black Mercedes like she had every right to intercept my life. Miss Brooks, we should talk, somewhere private. I followed her to the car, sat in the passenger seat, leather interior that probably cost more than I made in a year. She didn't waste time. My son is engaged to be married. The wedding is in 3 months. He will not throw away his future for a waitress. I was stunned. Engaged? He never... She cut me off. I don't care what fantasies he's entertained you with. They end now. He told me he loved me. Her smile was cold. Men his age confuse passion with love. But I know my son, and I know what's best for him. She reached into her purse, pulled out an envelope, placed it on my lap. $5,000, more than you'd make in 6 months. You will resign from the club. You will not contact my son. You will disappear. I stared at the envelope, couldn't move. Her voice softened, became almost kind. If you truly care about William, you'll let him have the life he deserves. You don't belong in that life, Miss Brooks. Surely you can see that. He should get to choose. He's choosing. He's marrying someone suitable. You are a distraction, a very common one. Her voice hardened. And if you refuse, I will make sure you never work anywhere respectable in this county again. I have that power. I will use it. She gestured to the envelope. Take the money. Start over somewhere else. Forget my son. Because if you stay, if you fight this, you will lose, and you'll lose ugly. Is that what you want? To be humiliated, destroyed, or walk away with dignity and $5,000? I picked up the envelope. My hands shook. Catherine smiled. Smart girl. I thought you might be reasonable. I need to think. There's nothing to think about. You have until Friday to resign. If you're still here Monday, I'll assume you've chosen the hard way. She leaned across me, opened the passenger door. Goodbye, Miss Brooks. I'm sure this works out for the best. I got out, stood there with that envelope in my hands. I stood there for 20 minutes. And the worst part? I believed her. I looked at that money and thought, she's right. I don't belong in his world. He'll resent me eventually. This is mercy. So I took the money. I resigned. I left town that weekend. And I never told William I was pregnant. Because by then, I believed what his mother told me, that I wasn't good enough, that I'd ruin his life, that disappearing was the kindest thing I could do. 2 weeks later, in a motel room in Sacramento, I miscarried. Alone, bleeding and terrified. When it was over, I lay on that bed and thought, she was right. I wasn't strong enough. I wasn't enough. The memory faded. I was back in the garden. William was staring at me, waiting for an answer. But I couldn't speak, because the pattern was so clear now, it was almost funny. Almost. 35 years ago, his mother told me I wasn't good enough. Tonight, his sister told my son the same thing. The same family, the same cruelty, the same message. People like us don't belong in their world.
Eleanor, William said quietly, what happened? What did Margaret say to Daniel? Before I could answer, Daniel's voice cut through the garden. Mom? I turned. Daniel stood in the doorway, Victoria behind him, her face uncertain. The Hale parents behind them, expressions tight. He walked toward me. Not fast, deliberate, like he was making a decision with every step. William stepped back, giving us space. Daniel reached me. His eyes searched my face, looking for something, permission maybe, or strength. I didn't know what to say. Didn't know what he'd heard. Didn't know what he was thinking. He took my hand, squeezed it once. Then he turned to face the Hale family, and I saw the decision forming on his face. What happened next would change everything. Come back tomorrow for part 2. The moment my son made the choice I'd been terrified of. The moment I learned what I was really worth.